Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gone Racing. And for the fourth or fifth consecutive week, I am sitting in this studio all by myself. It's Jeff Motley, but Brendan gone. Have no fear.
To wipe your tears?
Yeah, it's really sad. It's getting lonely in here. I mean, I love the crew and their pit crew and everything, but it's just a little lonely looking over there and seeing your empty chair, and you're in the Brady Bunch box on the screen right now. So
look at the studio. So sad. Empty studio.
Yep, there you go. If you're looking, you see that empty chair there.
Hey, listen, I need my space.
I see that you've got plenty of space. You're at Space Camp this week, and you're still in Florida. So I would say you're paying taxes in Florida, but they don't have a state income tax in Florida, so you're lucky there.
Nope. We get to spend a couple weeks, and the kids are at Space Camp right now. So everybody's there, and they are doing the 3-ring gyro thing, and they come home with all these science projects every day, and they love it. They have a good time. They get ice cream on the way home. Doesn't help me that we stop and get ice cream on the way home. And so, we're here. And I had a view for you, Jeff, today. I was going to go outside. I had a spot picked to do an outside view. I was just really worried about the wind and the microphone, and I didn't want you to be that mad at me. So I came back into the house.
And what was it? Some beautiful view of the Atlantic Ocean, waves crashing down on the beach. Was I going to see the space shuttle sitting on a launch pad or something?
Hold on. Yeah, you pretty much nailed it.
Yep, that's what
we looked right above the computer.
That's probably what I figured. Well, don't be down there getting near any of those SpaceX rockets. They're not having a good go of it lately, I don't believe. So,
had one launch the other day. Had one launch while we were here. 1:55 in the morning.
I don't think the SpaceX one made it very far.
No, it was a SpaceX. It was one of the SpaceX sending up satellites.
Yeah, they had one that didn't end well the other day. I don't believe they kind of turned out like some of the guys did in Mexico City. Well, Brendan, we're talking. We got to talk about last week at Mexico City, and before we even get to the race, the winner of the race, and everything, what a home run for NASCAR! I mean, the crowds were terrific. The enthusiasm you could tell, and I think these guys really, really embraced being in Mexico City. Just a great event all the way around.
I told you I was in Baja 2 weeks ago racing the 500. And you and I talk a lot about Mexico and what my feelings are about Baja and about Mexico and that. And I think the biggest crash and burn right now, Carson Hocevar. I mean, I'm not going to pile on. He said what he said, and then he's apologized and he apologized on his own before these fines. But that shows not the immaturity of Carson. That shows how people take all these stupid things they hear and ball them all up from people that have no clue what's really going on. NASCAR hit a home run. And how about the Xfinity race? Black helicopters, everybody's saying NASCAR and the fix is in. Daniel Suarez comes from the back of the pack to win the Mexico City race. You and I talked about what a raucous deal it would be if Daniel Suarez could win. And he did win one, which was so freaking cool. And by the way, who was it? Tanner Gray almost took a shot at him on the last couple corners. Let me tell you, one of the best moves that Tanner Gray ever made in his life was not making contact with Daniel Suarez in turn 15, 16.
Tanner Gray was smarter than Carson Hocevar was last week, without a doubt.
If Tanner made contact with Daniel Suarez right there, I don't know if we're talking about what a positive atmosphere would have been in Mexico.
Well, and I also think it was important. Tanner Gray said all the right things after the race because, there was the incident where Suarez cut the corner. And that was always going to be a judgment call by NASCAR.
Yep.
Tanner Gray was the first one to say, he said, look, I forced him down there. I got no issue with him doing it. And it was clear that he did force him down there. But, some drivers, especially young drivers like a Tanner Gray, could have been upset about that, right? But no, I thought he handled that in a very professional manner. And look, if you're going to send in the black helicopters, you do it on Sunday. You don't do it on Saturday. So Daniel Suarez drove his butt off, deserved to win that race. No question about it.
And had a good race going Sunday. Led some laps. The crowd went crazy when he led laps. And let's talk about what personally I feel a great job Amazon has been doing in the booth. And personally, just a personal note, how much I love seeing Carl Edwards back in the sport. It's so neat to see Carl back. And Carl is not TV. He's not TV primed, right? Carl is just Carl. and it's so fun to see him back. He looks great doing it. He adds a lot, in my opinion, to the whole show. And it's great watching that show with Danielle, him, and
I think they've done incredible with two guys without a lot of TV experience. Carl Edwards, Corley Joy have done an amazing job. It's too bad this is going to be our last week with Prime. They only had 5 races.
And their coverage did great, Jeff.
And they've done a great job.
They did, and I thought they did a great job with it.
And honestly, my picture looks better on my TV through the streaming platform than it does on the regular. So anyway.
But that was a hell of a race.
Yeah, we had
a great job, and yeah, we got to talk about it. I mean, you and I both said you bet against SVG, you're doing it at your own peril. I took one bet against him, and I lost second place finish to first. Way to go. But SVG showing why, and this is an argument, Jeff, you and I have had we've been doing this show now for
8 years. 8th year. Yeah.
You and I have known each other almost 20.
25, probably 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, almost 30. Yes, almost 30, 25 plus years.
Showing your age now.
And I have argued with you for years, though, about the word I use, the word that you hate, like I hate the crapshoot at Daytona and Talladega, is NASCARized. The NASCARized road courses in America that were NASCAR races, when you go, and I told you this about Road America years ago, we said it about Chicago, we said it about this course in Mexico City, the Chicago street course, we said, any of these places, when you have a technical, proper, correct road course, road racers go to the top. And if you look, SVG, that might be the most dominant race I've seen in God knows how long. Christopher Bell, who's one of our better road races, was right there. Chase Elliott, who was the perennial road racer before Kyle Larson came along, was there. Kyle Larson didn't have a chance to show it because he got wrecked early. But Michael McDowell at the time, road racers came to the top of this race like it should on a technical road course.
Well, it was a great run for Shane Van Gisbergen. It got him the win. It gets him locked into the playoffs. It really gives him a leg up, almost locks him into winning Rookie of the Year for this year. A lot of things going for Shane Van Gisbergen. We'll take a quick look at his numbers. He was plus 350 to win, and there was not a lot of other positives. He was minus 120 for a top 3. Chevy was minus 230 to win. He was minus 155 against Byron. Did you pick that one, I think? Or Bell? Minus 155 against Bell. I think he had Bell. He was a plus on Group A, at plus 180 for Group A, but just a great run for Shane Van Gisbergen. And I mean, Brendan, this was a butt kicking here. I mean, he won by 17 seconds. I mean, he just drove away from the field.
And everything that team did all day long, strategy-wise, was perfect. Ty Gibbs blew that race. Ty Gibbs did not blow that race, sorry. His team blew that race. Ty Gibbs was the only guy that could battle with SVG, and his team completely blew that, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this question, Brendan. If you're on a road course, and I understand you have to consider you could potentially have overtime, right? But if you know that you are 3 laps to the good on gas on a road course, what reason of any would you ever stay out?
Well, when you have if you're running 12th, and you have a chance to do something, absolutely you stay out. You take the chance. Ty Gibbs was was the closest thing to SVG and had a phenomenal day going. When SVG pits and you know you're in your window, come in the pit, put the fuel in it, put tires on it.
I did not understand that. I don't know what you're waiting for because
terrible call.
Because if you're going to pit under green, you can get back where you were. If you're going to pit under yellow, you're going to be behind anybody that's pitted because you don't lose a lap. This is not Martinsville or Bristol, So anyway, I'll rest my case there.
Terrible call, Ty Gibbs, and they hurt Ty Gibbs on that deal. That bummed me out because he had a great run going. I was really proud of the kid.
All right, well, let's take a look at our top 10 right now. Christopher Bell was a plus 180 for his top 3, and Chase Elliott, good rebound for Chase Elliott on a street course here, road course at a plus 250, but. I poo-pooed this guy this year, but I did say on the show last week, Alex Bowman, this was a place I thought he would run well, and he did. He finished 4th. Great run for Alex Bowman. Then you talk about your road course aces. There's Michael McDowell getting a top 5. John Hunter Nemechek.
Legacy, another top 10.
It seemed like every week. 1 week it's Eric Jones. 1 week it's John Hunter. Chase Briscoe, another guy who's sneaky good on road courses. How about Cole Custer? Cole Custer getting a top 10 at 8. And then William Byron and Chris Buescher. And Buescher probably had a little bit better car than where he finished. He was running pretty well. He lost a couple spots. I think they're late, but pretty solid.
He had some older tires.
A pretty solid top 10 right there without any question. So
No, and Legacy Motor Club, I think that's what, 5 races in a row, 6 races in a row with at least one car in the top 10. So John Hunter's still doing it. And like I said, you had some guys in this race that probably would have fit. Ty Gibbs came back to 11th. The Dinger had got wrecked early and still did a good job hanging on. Ryan Preece was fantastic early and run into some problems late. There were some guys that had shots.
I think Preece got a penalty. Preece got a penalty, which
Preece got a penalty. But guys look good, and the guys that ended up near the front were the guys that you and I talk about on this race. Road courses they were there.
Well, we've got this week, we got how our groups ended up. We talked about the fact Shane Van Gisbergen won Group A. He was a plus 180. Chase Elliott was the winner this week in Group B. He was plus 215. Alex Bowman, a plus 300 winning Group C. So a really, really nice turn on that. But I don't know. Are we shocked by any of those? I don't think any of those really shocked us, do they?
You liked Alex Bowman, remember? You were high on him on that group.
Well, Chicago kind of made me feel, saw how well he did there. And then our lower groups, Michael McDowell, not a big surprise there. Was a plus 250 for Group D. Ryan Blaney was in Group E, and if you remember, it was a crazy Group E. First off, it ended up being a 3-man race because Denny Hamlin did not race because his child was born.
Yep.
But you had Joey Logano in that group there, and you had Carson Hocevar in that group, and Blaney came through with the win there. And then our final group, Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace won a group on a road course. I wonder if he even knows that. It's like if we told Bubba, he'd be like, "That's cool," because he's always been kind of down on the road course thing.
And he did a good job. I mean, I was high on Brad Keselowski, and Brad didn't show up very well. So Brad did not come through for me, and I was kind of bummed about that. I thought it really was looking for good things from Brad.
Yeah, I was totally with you. In fact, we gave him the kiss of death in that group. I think we all picked him and had him for a top 3 too. So very disappointing there. All right, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll tell you how the standings are going, and we'll start giving you the odds for this week at Pocono. Welcome back to Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here in the Dude Wipe studio at the South Point Hotel Casino. Brendan Gaughan joining me remotely from somewhere around Cape Canaveral, Florida. Maybe he's in Cocoa Beach, somewhere.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Cocoa Beach?
That's right there.
Cocoa Beach. Yep. You know what Cocoa Beach was known for? That was where they lived on I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie. The house is right there. We drove by it, looked at it.
Yep, I remember watching that. And, of course, we're dating ourselves that we remember that show. But yes. I was a big fan of that show. Really enjoyed it. So, anyway, all right. We kind of got sort of long-winded in the first segment, so we need to kind of get moving along. So, Shane Van Gisbergen's win vaults him up to the 10th spot in the playoff standings. So, now we got 10 drivers with wins. But what that's also done is that cut line is now 19 points between Chris Buescher, who's at the bottom, and his teammate Ryan Preece. And we've seen Austin Cindric drop below Michael McDowell, and Kyle Busch has now dropped into 20th in the playoff standings. You get another couple upsets, and there's going to be some real nervous drivers out there.
I'm telling you right now, Jeff, I said at the beginning of the year, I didn't think we'd get to that number that I was so close to the last few years ago when I was talking about it. We might have a guy that wins that doesn't get in. I don't know.
I'm still saying 13 winners is what I'm picking. 13
We
winners.
still got 2 road courses. You've got 2 road courses, Atlanta, Daytona. Those are 4 out of the 9 races. If we get an A.J. Allmendinger, an Austin Dillon, a Riley Herbst, a Michael McDowell, any of those guys, if those 4 guys win that's going to leave out of 6 races or 5 races after that. You think that a Ryan Preece can't win? You think that a Kyle Busch can't? It could be close this year. We could be talking about it as the year goes down. Saying.
It could, and we'll talk about this upcoming schedule. Obviously, this weekend we head to the Tricky Triangle, Pocono, Pennsylvania. It's the only trip to Pocono. They only do that once a year now. And by the way, just a shout out to Bama, Montana, all those hauler drivers out there who have driven from Michigan to Mexico City to Pocono, Pennsylvania. They will be very excited to go to Atlanta the next week. But that's where we go after Pocono. We go to Atlanta, the super speedway there. Then we go back to back with the left and right turns. We go to the street course in Chicago, the big 4th of July celebration there. Then we head off to the beautiful wine country in Northern California for Sonoma. And then we go to Dover on July 20th. How hot's that concrete going to be on July 20th in Dover, Delaware? At least Atlanta's running. Atlanta's running a night race. So, just saying.
Dover's going to be warm.
Yeah.
Dover's going to be warm.
All right, so that's what we got coming up. But now we're going to get into our odds to win this week. No big shocker here. Well, actually, before we get into the odds, Brendan, let's talk about who's done well here at Pocono. And it starts and ends almost with Denny Hamlin. These guys got 7 wins in 35 races, 23 top 10s.
23 top 10s. That's a 60%, 65% win top 10 rate there. There's some guys here. Kyle Busch, but what have you done for me lately? There's a name at the very bottom of this, though, Jeff. You and I have been very high on, and we both 13 races. But what has he done in the last 10? Eric Jones in the last 10, 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s, and a lot of those with Petty or Petty GMS, Petty, then Legacy. So I don't know, that might bode well for an Eric Jones if we can find him in a head-to-head or a group matchup somewhere. I think we might have some good numbers for Eric Jones.
Well, and I think just the fact the success we're starting to see out of Legacy Motor Club starts giving you a little bit of confidence in both him and Nemechek. So I agree. But look, it kind of starts and ends with Denny Hamlin. He had last week off. We talked about it a little bit earlier. He birthed it was a daughter or son. I can't remember what he had. It was a little boy, a little girl. I'm not even sure.
I thought it was baby girl.
Yep, might have been. So, but I know he missed Mexico City. That'll probably get him energized for this week at Pocono. I mean, don't you think? Just being able to, I mean, because he's got to have missed it, right? Not being out there. These guys, it's kind of what they do.
He was one of those that was kind of poo-pooing it too. So I think it didn't bother him that, she had it so late in the week. So he was happy to get a week off, stay home, be refreshed, get ready, probably do a little sim time at Pocono, which I don't think he really needs much sim time. They set the sim off of what he's done in the past. So I think that he's ready to go to Pocono and get a W. Well,
speaking of Denny Hamlin, we'll start talking about our Pocono odds, and Denny Hamlin is the favorite. He's a plus 400 at Pocono. Then Kyle Larson is plus 500. Ryan Blaney plus 600. Christopher Bell and William Byron are 700. Tyler Reddick is 12-1. Chris Buescher and Chase Elliott are 16-1. And then we got a big group of drivers at 20-1. Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano, and Carson Hocevar.
I want to talk about one guy right here, Ty Gibbs. Every time I've zeroed in on Ty at certain places, Jeff, he's had good runs, right? We've talked about that. There was places that Ty's just done really well at. Last year in this race, Ty Gibbs, do you remember that stretch where Gibbs motors were blowing up like mad? This was one of those races. Ty led the first 21 laps and blew a motor. I think that Ty Gibbs may be a sleeper here. He's only got 3 races. One of them is a top 5. And last year, he was looking like the class of the field. So he should have 2 top 5s in there. So I like Ty Gibbs right here. I think that Ty could be a good sleeper for a 20-1. I may even put my money where my mouth is on that one.
Well, I'll tell you a guy that I'm kind of looking at just because I like the odd on him and the fact that he's 16-1 right now to win. He hasn't won a race this year, but in 15 starts at Pocono, he's got 10 top 10s, and that's Chase Elliott. I think 16-1 is a phenomenal number on Chase Elliott. I also like the fact that I know it's a completely different type racetrack, but he finished 3rd last week. That's got to give that team a little bit of momentum. So I just like Chase Elliott here. I'm not saying I'm going to necessarily go pick him, but when I'm looking for an odd that's a really good number, I like the 16-1 on Chase Elliott.
Like we talked, Chase is going through a slump. I'd kill for that slump. He's not winning like he used to, but his last 3 are 1st, 10th, and 9th. So it's not like he's far off. That team's been running well. I think Chase is feeling pretty good, especially after last week. I like it also.
All right, let's take a look at our longer odds, if you will. Ross Chastain is 25-1. Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, all at 30-1. Alex Bowman, a former winner here at Pocono, by the way. Kyle Busch and Josh Berry are 40-1. Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, and Ryan Preece, 80-1. Allmendinger and Suarez, 100, and the field is 20-1.
If you remember a couple weeks ago, Bubba Wallace finished 5th at Michigan. Had a strong run, was there all day long, getting stage points, being up front. Pocono, big motor like Michigan. I mean, not saying it's like Michigan, but big motor track, a lot of aero track. So maybe if you're looking for a big dark horse back here, I don't mind a Bubba Wallace 30-1. I think Bubba's proved he can win on the big ovals, and that team looking pretty good. So maybe a 30-1 long shot ain't a bad number.
If there's another 30-1 I kind of really like there is Chase Briscoe too, because I think Briscoe, it just seems like every week he's getting a little bit more and more comfortable with that team, the car. Look, we know the car is capable. I mean, we know how Denny Hamlin's going to run here. We expect Ty Gibbs to run well here. Christopher Bell, I don't really know what to think, because we know we haven't seen him as good on the big tracks as he has been on the intermediates and the smaller tracks. We'll see. But I just think 30-1 is a heck of a number on Chase Briscoe here too. So you're right.
And Truex was top 10 last year. I mean, Truex was great here. So
and he was fading by last year. He wasn't nearly the dominant driver that he was, a couple years before that. All right, let's move along to our odds for top 3. Denny Hamlin, no big surprise here, is at the top of the board at plus 130. Kyle Larson is plus 150. Ryan Blaney's 200. William Byron 210. Christopher Bell 240. Tyler Reddick plus 275. Chase Elliott 350. Joey Logano 450. Ross Chastain is 500. Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, and Chris Buescher all at 550. Carson Hocevar, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace at 700. Alex Bowman 800. Austin Cindric 11-1.
So first, same guy, Ty Gibbs, zero in on that, kind of like it. But, Carson Hocevar, here's a kid that's been running great, right, Jeff? All year long in the ovals. Carson's been one we talk about, keeps surprising us, keeps doing things that we kind of go, With all the hullabaloo in the last week, that's a big distraction for a young man. He was 10th and 3rd in stages, led 32 laps at Michigan. But a lot of pressure right there, a lot of goo. I would normally say in the last couple weeks, this would be a Carson Hocevar weekend. And we're going to see a lot out of the moxie of the kid. If he can come back after all this distraction that's been on and come back to that form he had at Michigan a couple weeks ago and get a good finish here, that could be a strong showing for the Spire team and what that kid has inside him. Well,
you talked about Hocevar, and look, you raced at Pocono. Now, I think if you're a fan and you see Pocono, you just see 3 long straightaways and 3 turns, But my kind of knowledge of it and talking to drivers and things like that, Pocono is a place you really have to get used to and adapt to. And a young driver probably isn't going to just jump into Pocono and just be fast right away.
Yeah, but a lot of these kids raced ARCA there. You forget ARCA raced there all the time. So like Riley Herbst has a win in ARCA there. It's a place that but to me, Pocono is the place that I don't ever remember being so scared. I drove in the days of the 11,000 RPM motors, and that used to just be frightening going down into turn 1, turning 10,900 RPM.
And keep in mind, a lot of these guys that have got these Cup affiliations, they get in that ARCA race and they've got one of the 2 or 3 best cars there, and they just drive away from everybody. And here you've got to deal with traffic going through the tunnel turn and things like that. And it is very treacherous. So, all right, let's take a quick look at our longer odds for top 3s here. Josh Berry is 12-1. Ryan Preece and Eric Jones both at 15. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 17. Daniel Suarez 20. Zane Smith, Shane Van Gisbergen, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger 28. Noah Gragson 40. Gilliland is 50, along with John Hunter Nemechek and Austin Dillon. Justin Haley and Cole Custer 70-1. Riley Herbst is 80. Ty Dillon 100, and Cody Ware 250.
I tell you what, man, that Eric Jones 15-1 right there, that really, really intrigues me, Jeff. It really does.
I like both of the 15-1s. I think Preece and Eric Jones both could do well here, but I'm with you.
Eric Jones has run well here on a team that didn't run well notoriously. So I really like that Eric Jones pick in the top 3, even more than I did for the top for the win.
I also kind of look here at some of these other guys. Again, we've talked about Zane Smith. Zane Smith seems to have really come on, and he's kind of surprised us, a few weeks.
Yeah.
And Daniel Suarez is a guy that you figure Pocono is a place. Well, I know it's a long shot to think of a top 3, but I think Daniel Suarez is a guy also that you got to give some consideration to with the longer odds.
Coming off a big high from last week, so absolutely. He's got 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s last 10 races, so he's got there's some opportunity there. I'm not against that.
Well, and I think sometimes this is what we look for, right? We look for where we can find value on bigger numbers, and that's kind of what we look at when we see guys. And
there's some value there.
And a Josh Berry too. You never know with Josh Berry.
John Hunter
12-1. John Hunter Nemechek. So there's a lot of different guys out there. Absolutely. All right, we come back on Gone Racing. We will start talking about our driver head-to-heads, and we'll get into our favorites, the group matchups. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here at the Dude Wipe Studio at the South Point Hotel Casino. Brendan Gaughan joining me, seems like as always, via remote down in Florida.
Where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? Where's Waldo? He's in Florida this week, and we're going to just get everybody to know he's going to be in that little box again next week because he's going to be in New York. So, anyway, we might eventually get him back in here in the office.
That's a cool one, though. Hey, I'm going to give a couple brags on that. Michael James, my son, is playing Carnegie Hall. He won a thing, 10,000 kids down to 50 for an orchestra, play Carnegie Hall, and Michael James is playing Carnegie Hall as a 8th grader going to high school. So. Really cool. Super proud of him on that. That was a proud dad moment there.
If you could compile a list of everyone who has played at Carnegie Hall and to have your son's name on that list, that's pretty remarkable.
Pretty big time proud dad moment. Pretty proud of him.
Yep. He definitely is accomplishing more than you, and he's not even out of high school, right?
But a bum.
Hey, that's what every dad wants, though, right?
The only guy that roots for you to be better than him.
Right.
That is your daddy.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right. We are moving into the driver head-to-heads for this weekend at Pocono. And Brendan, there are some huge numbers on some of these drivers. And right off the bat, when I see a plus 140 beside Kyle Larson's name, I don't know how not. I know he's never won at Pocono, but he's plus 140 against Denny Hamlin's minus 160. And I know Denny's got 7 wins at Pocono, and Denny's great at Pocono, and blah, 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 blah. But goodness gracious, you give me a plus 140 on Kyle Larson to beat one driver?
Sure. But, I look at this stuff. I look at this and say, Kyle Larson, not phenomenal at Pocono. Good, not phenomenal. Michigan, a couple weeks ago, good, not Kyle Larson good. Me, I look at this. If I'm going to get a big return on somebody, I'm looking at that Denny Hamlin versus William Byron. The second best point getter in the last 10 races, William Byron to Denny Hamlin. So I look at that and go, okay, if I'm going to take a shot against Denny, which caveat emptor, buyer beware, I like that William Byron plus 155, but I really love the William Byron plus 115 against Denny Hamlin because William Byron is honestly just
that's Larson.
Better.
He's against Larson. He's 115 against Larson.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. He's an 8.5 average finish to Larson's. Where we got here, Kyle Larson is a 13 average finish. So I really like the William Byron plus 115 versus Larson. And if I'm going to take a shot, I like the William Byron versus Denny Hamlin plus 155.
Well, and there's definitely a lot of guys with big numbers on here, but you're right. When you see a plus 155 like that, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, that one is certainly eye-opening there as well. And Christopher Bell, they don't have a lot of belief in him. He's got some plus 125s against Blaney, Byron, and Larson, all 3 of them. So if you think Bell's going to exceed expectations, Bell could be a guy that could be a big winner for you.
Got some good numbers for Bell. Not quite as accomplished here. 7 starts, only 3 top 10s. 2 top 5s, average finish of 16. So it's a little bit longer shot for him.
And I
do like that William Byron.
And we've kind of talked on several shows that it seems like when the tracks get to be 1.5 miles and longer, Bell hasn't been quite as strong as he is on the smaller tracks. I don't know what.
Last year, the opposite.
Right.
Last year, Bell was on fire on those tracks. This year, not so much. So I'm not as high on those, but I do like that William Byron 155 and 115 a lot.
All right, well, let's move along to our group matchups, and we're going to start right off in Group A. And one thing that you're going to notice is a driver missing from the groups this week. Denny Hamlin is not in a group. He is such a prohibitive favorite. So our co-favorites in Group A are Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney, and then at plus 230, and then William Byron and Christopher Bell at plus 315.
I just talked about it. If I can get William Byron at plus 155, second best point getter here at Pocono in the last 10 races, best average finish behind one person, Denny Hamlin, by 0.9 positions in the last 10 races. And you're going to give me him at 315 in a group against guys that honestly don't have. I mean, yes, Ryan Blaney has a win, but 2 top 5s in the last 10 races, 4 top 10s compared to 6 top 10s and an average finish 5 positions better. I love that 315. I'm no longer talking about that head to head. I'm going to take the 315 in Group A.
Well, I wish that I could play devil's advocate with you, but no shot. I can't. William Byron to me is the clear-cut guy here. Why take him at 155 in a head-to-head? Because here, look, if you think he's that much better than Larson, and we don't think Bell's going to run well on the big track, it kind of comes down to Byron and Blaney, right? You get a plus 315 against Blaney as opposed to a plus 155 against Denny Hamlin, because Denny Hamlin, you don't even have to contend with him in Group A. So Denny Hamlin can go win the race, and you can still win Group A, which oftentimes the guy that wins the race a lot of times comes out of Group A.
Is in Group A.
So a much different.
No, I like that.
Yeah, I love William Byron there. So can't really go different with you on that one. All right, let's move along to Group B. Our favorite in Group B is Tyler Reddick at plus 255. Then we have or tied right below that, Chris Buescher and Chase Elliott at plus 260. And then Brad Keselowski popping all the way up into Group B at a plus 300.
I am so angry that Brad Keselowski is in Group B this weekend. That is so terrible for me. Brad Keselowski, Jeff, we talk about what have you done for me lately, right? He's been up and down. But at Pocono, Brad has an average finish of 11.8, 6 top 10s in the last 10 races. And in his little bit of tenure here at RFK Racing, he's got a 7th and a 14th and a, 7th last year, 16th, 14th before. So I really, really did like Brad Keselowski, but now he's in Group B. And that Chase Elliott number kind of spooks me a little bit because Chase right there with him, running really well. We've talked about that. Chris Buescher, not good here. Should not be in Group B, honestly. Chris, this is, he's got that win, the famous fog win when he was
the Fog Bowl or whatever they had at Pocono.
Yeah, what was he, JTG Racing then? But I really like Chase Elliott here in place of Brad Keselowski. Just I kind of bummed that Brad is in Group B this week because I was really looking forward to seeing a group for him.
Well, our show could get canceled for being boring because I'm with you. I look at Chase Elliott right here. Honestly, the guy I think that might be his biggest competition could be Tyler Reddick, but I just don't know that team has not been as good over the last couple months as we expected. I don't know if it has to do with the lawsuit. I don't know if there's something else going on. Who knows? I just know that when I look at this group right here, I only see one guy where I say good at Pocono, running solid. I mean, he's been good the last few months. It's Chase Elliott.
It's Chase Elliott.
I'm not going to say it's a stone cold lock.
I'm not doing the stone cold lock.
Well, that didn't work out for you last week. I don't.
Brad could do well, but I do like Chase above the rest of this field.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. All right, let's move along to Group C. That guy you've been talking about right here, sitting at the very top, Ty Gibbs is plus 235. Then Joey Logano is plus 245. Ross Chastain plus 290. And Carson Hocevar is plus 310. A huge, wide swath between the top one and the bottom one here.
Yeah, I'm going to give this my lock this week. I'm going Ty Gibbs right here, 235. He's the favorite, but he's still 235. Hocevar, I just talked. I want to see the mettle this kid has after the big, Hasselhoff that he's gotten going on right now. Logano, not very good here in the last 10 races. Ross Chastain, hit and miss. Also not very good here in the last 10 races. Where's my Ross stat for you? Got to go way down here. 8 races, 0 top 10, 0 top 5s. Average finish of 28.6. So Ty Gibbs, I like this one a lot for Ty Gibbs.
Well, I do say that I can understand that one. And I'm not even saying I'm against Ty Gibbs in this one. Joey Logano is always intriguing because you just never know. They can be 25th or they can go out and spank the field.
And win.
Win, exactly. Chastain, you're right, not one of his better tracks. And Hocevar, you don't really, Hocevar, you're sitting there saying, no, not really. Really? He can't do this at Pocono, can he? Well, I didn't think he could do that at Michigan either. So I don't really know. And I think that's probably the only thing that scares me from jumping on the Ty Gibbs bandwagon on this particular group is Carson Hocevar. He is the one that kind of makes me the most nervous here. I'm probably not going to pick this group. I'm not as locked in on Ty Gibbs as you are, but I agree with your reasoning, if that makes sense. All right, let's move along to our Group D. Our Group D favorite here is Chase Briscoe. He is at plus 235. Then Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman are both plus 260. And Kyle Busch, he of 4 wins at Pocono, but we know with a different race team at plus 325.
I'm giving you my X on this one, Jeff. This is we've given you the reasons why we like Chase Briscoe. I really do. Bubba has done well here lately, and has really done better as a whole lately. Like that, Kyle Busch. You never know what Kyle Busch is going to show up. Some weeks, and Alex Bowman, even with racing injured last week, doing so well, getting back off the schneid. He's the best driver of these as far as wins go at this track, besides Kyle of late. And this is my X. I can't separate him.
See, I don't think I'm as big of an X here. I know he's the favorite, but I like Briscoe here. I like that car here. I think he's a solid driver, so I do like Briscoe. And I guess I'm kind of discounting Kyle. I don't see Kyle being up there with these other three guys. Bowman, I've been down on Bowman. I'm still down on Bowman, although I was up on him last week, and I'm going to be up on him at Chicago. I just want to point that out too. So it kind of comes down a little bit between Briscoe and Bubba. And I know Bubba had a decent run last week, and Bubba's had some good runs. I am not convinced, though, that some of the legal wranglings that's been going on are not affecting that entire race team right now. And so when I start doing my little process of elimination, Chase Briscoe is kind of left standing. So I like Briscoe here.
I'm with you.
All right, let's move along to Group E, where Josh Berry is our favorite at plus 230. Eric Jones at plus 275. Austin Cindric and Ryan Preece at plus 285.
Yeah, this is the one I like right here. I told you at the start of the show, Jeff, I wanted to see where Eric Jones was down in Group E. Josh Berry, the only one that spooks me a little bit. Josh, been so good, this year. But Eric Jones, 11th at Michigan. That Legacy Motor Club team on a streak of top 10 finishes. I really like Eric Jones. He likes this place a lot. 275, really, really, really high on Eric Jones right here.
Well, that little broken record is running around on the turntable right now because I agree. I like Eric Jones here a lot. In fact, I put him maybe against Preece a little bit more, but I like Eric Jones. All right, we're back on Gone Racing. Give our last group. Give you our picks. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here in the Dude Wipe Studio at the South Point Hotel Casino. Brendan Gaughan joining me almost like every week via remote. I like to call it the Brady Bunch box because we just say our little pictures up there like the Hollywood Squares or whatever, but it's only two of us. Like, was it Paul Lynde in the middle? Remember that? Remember Hollywood Squares? Was it Paul Lynde that was always in the middle of the thing? I think it was.
Yeah, we're aging ourselves because the kids nowadays don't even know what Hollywood Squares was.
Yeah, I remember some of those people that were still on there all the time. George Goebel and Phyllis Diller, and I don't even remember who.
Phyllis Diller was always on there.
I remember Peter Marshall was the host of that show, though. Remember Peter Marshall?
Well, and Charo was on there a few times, and in case you didn't know, Charo played the South Point not too long ago.
She's still alive?
Yeah, God love you. God love you. Still coochie cooing and shaking her hips.
I didn't even know she was still alive. Well, good for her. Okay. All right. Let's speak of looking alive. Let's get back to the live show we're doing here. And we're in our final group for this week for the race this weekend at Pocono. It's the Pocono Mountains Fast Getaway or something. I don't know what it's got some
Great American
Getaway.
Great
American Getaway 400. Okay. All right. Okay. That's a big mouthful. It's almost like the Bushy McBush face.
Bushy McBush. We got a Bushy McBush sighting.
Yep, there we go.
Bushy
All right.
McBush.
So Group F, we got co-favorites here. AJ Allmendinger, Daniel Suarez are both plus 250. Noah Gragson is plus 285. Michael McDowell, plus 290. Long shot here.
Yeah, McDowell got a couple top 10s here. Don't dislike that. Suarez got a couple top 5s here. Like that better, coming off of last week. Good run in the Cup race, the win in Xfinity, riding pretty high. Trackhouse probably riding pretty high. If I'm going to pick somebody, it's Suarez, but I'm not liking Group F this week. The names, those are names that to me should be E's, maybe a few D's, and just I like it when we have the obscurity in Group F and maybe Suarez, but that's about it.
I think you're actually giving those guys some credit that you're moving them up to D's and E's. I mean, I'm not sure.
I think McDowell has earned it, and
yeah, although this year hasn't been. And Gragson actually is a guy who's been pretty unlucky in a lot of races. Now Mexico City was not good to him, but
not unlucky.
But he's been running well in some races and kind of fallen victim to stuff that was not of his own doing. All right, well, let's take a quick look at our manufacturer props, and guess what? The manufacturer of which Denny Hamlin will be wheeling is not the favorite. Chevrolet is the favorite at plus 130. Toyota is plus 150. And Ford is plus 250. Brendan, a plus 150 for Toyota because you don't just get Denny Hamlin, but you get Christopher Bell, you get Ty Gibbs, who I know you think is going to break through at some point.
I'm high on.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And you got Briscoe.
I don't dislike it. I think that 150 on Toyota would be, if I was to pick a manufacturer, I'd pick the Toyota 150. I like it. I think it's you're going to get Denny Hamlin for a top 3 at 180. You know, I mean, if you think he's going to win, you're only getting him at 310, but you got a couple other guys. I like that 150.
Yeah, it's certainly tempting there. It's kind of nice to see the guy who's the favorite to win the race is not the favorite for his manufacturer to win the race. It gives you a little bit better odds there.
Yeah.
Real quick, championship odds did not change this week because despite getting a win at Mexico City, Shane Van Gisbergen is still in the field. So I guess that means he's 30 to 1.
This is the South Point. This is from the South Point.
But Daniel Suarez is 300 to 1, and Shane Van Gisbergen, I guess, is technically 30 to 1 because he's in the field bet.
We were talking. There is one road course in the playoffs. It's in the second round. Doesn't get him to the championship round. But I think that's still fair. That he'd still be a long shot. Let's just say, Jeff. I don't dislike that. Still numbers, though. If you're looking to hedge near the end of the season, champion Joey Logano, former champion Chase Elliott, both of those at double-digit odds. I really like those. That's the two guys I'd hone in on right there that I just think are opportunities to still move up that when the playoffs start.
I would agree with you on that. Well, let's take a look at how we did last week. I think we all got one right, but nobody really set the world on fire. We'll see.
No, only one of us was minus a small part. You guys both were minus a full unit. So you know what that means, Jeff? I was minus half. You were minus 1.2. It means I'm narrowing the gap.
Yeah. Well, the only one I got right last week was picking SVG to win in Group A. He got me 2.8 units there for Group A. My Brad Keselowski belief just got straight down the drain. It's kind of like I'm feeling with Keselowski kind of like I felt with RCR. I had the Keselowski 40 to 1 for a top 3. I'm not even sure he saw the top 20 all day. And then Group F, he was a distant out of it. So that was my picks. Let's see your picks pop up here on the screen. You had the correct pick with Michael McDowell winning Group D. You did have some good picks. Buescher was a guy who didn't have quite as good a day as I think we thought he might have. Allmendinger had some issues early. Look, you believed in
Dinger
Keselowski
was my
too.
lock. Hold on. Dinger was my lock. But Dinger got wrecked by Kyle Busch doing bowling for dollars a la Stephen Wallace at Montreal 15 years ago. I was like, come on. And Kyle goes, well, I went deeper into the last corner, so I thought I could go deeper into this one. It's raining. I wanted to smack Kyle upside the head, but took out my Dinger. That was my lock, and I'm blaming Kyle for losing that one.
Well, were you going to wait for, because you had to wait for him to get back in the States, like Ricky Stenhouse was waiting on Hocevar. They want the Federales to get him down there.
People have waited for Ricky. It's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and our pit crew picks, they had the same pick as me that they got correct. They had SVG winning in Group A. They also went down in flames with Keselowski like I did. So anyway, pretty close there. Our standings did not change other than you picked up a little bit of ground on me right now in the season totals. I'm at 29.05 and you're at 23.85. Pit crew is still staying in the positive at 2.2. And I find it interesting at how quickly, if you're watching the YouTube screen, that graphic goes off the screen since the pit crew is last and the pit crew is maintaining that graphic back there. So with that,
narrowed the gap.
With that, it is time for our picks for this week. You notice I'm ignoring you, right?
I know you're going right past.
Because you're not going to be like the intimidator in my rearview mirror. I just want to make that clear, okay? I'm not going to be your rearview mirror. Sorry. I don't see some big black car with a bow tie on the hood, filling up my rearview mirror. So anyway, okay. With that, pit crew picks, and they are going after a winner this week. They are
2 weeks in a row.
No, they're like, it's going to be a double win for Denny Hamlin, a baby 1 week and a trophy at Pocono the next week. So they're taking Denny Hamlin to win at plus 400.
Nothing wrong with that.
The rest of their picks are in the groups. They have Ryan Blaney in Group A, Oh, they like your Brad Keselowski long shot there, Group B at plus 300. They have Joey Logano in Group C at plus 245 and Kyle Busch in Group D at plus 325. I'm going to go out on a limb and, okay, maybe Ryan Blaney, but they're going to have the oldest picks this week because they got a lot of guys.
Yes.
They got three guys in their 40s Kyle, here in this. Yeah. And Joey's got to be pushing 40, right? How's Joey? Mid-30s?
I think.
Yeah, see, he's getting
33,
he's getting up there, you know? So definitely the oldest picks by the pit crew.
I like those.
All right, what say you, Mr. Gaughan?
So I was going to go with 2 top 3s, but I'm going to follow the pit crew. I'm going to take the chalk, and I'm going to go for the W. I'm going to take Denny Hamlin for the win. It's chalk. I get it, but I think Denny with the week off and all that, so I'm going to match the pit crew and pick a winner, which, Jeff, you and I never pick winners. Then after that, I'm going into the top 3s. I got Ty Gibbs at plus 550 for the top 3. I'm high on Ty. I'm going with that. Then I got 3 group picks. I got William Byron in Group A at plus 315. There's no Denny Hamlin there. I like that one. I got I'm double dipping Ty Gibbs. I'm going Ty Gibbs in Group C also at plus 235. And then I'm going to go down to that Eric Jones in Group E, putting money where my mouth is. I said I wanted Eric Jones in something, plus 275 for Eric Jones. So I like that. I do. I like that Eric Jones. I like that Ty Gibbs, but I also put a little chalk on the board with old Denny Hamlin.
Well, the one thing I will tell you, having seen your picks, is that if you gain on me this week, you're going to gain big. You're going to gain big if you gain on me because we have similar picks in the groups. But you've got those big picks with a Denny win and a Ty Gibbs top 3. I did not go that far out on a limb. I'm going to take one head-to-head, and that's kind of what I said when we were talking about the head-to-heads. I get Kyle Larson at a plus 140 against anybody. I'm taking it. So Kyle Larson plus 140 against Denny Hamlin. And then I'm going into the groups. I'm agreeing with you on William Byron in Group A. I love Byron there. I know we talked about it, and I was a little surprised you didn't pick this one. I was waiting on it. I love Chase Elliott in Group B. I like the Chase Elliott plus 260 Group B. Then I'm going to go with one of the groups that you put the X up on, Chase Briscoe. I like Chase Briscoe in Group D. I know you don't like it. And then I'm all in on Eric Jones as well. I like Eric Jones in Group E. I just think that's a great pick. I mean, I guess the only driver that really scares me a little bit might be Ryan Preece in that one because he's a long shot there. But that's what I got for this week, and we'll see if it's good enough to gain or lose or see what happens. So.
Well, listen, I like I used to say when I did Fantasy Racing Preview, if you like my picks, my name is Brendan Gaughan. If you don't, my name's Dave Moody. Call on Monday to Sirius Speedway. You know, I think that we got some good picks. I think we got look, it's Pocono. I know some people think Pocono is a boring race. I know some people, you know, remember the year Pocono was supposed to do it, COVID year. They were supposed to do the first ever doubleheader weekend. They were supposed to do the Saturday race, Sunday race.
I think they did one of those one time, right?
They still did it. But it got goofed up because of COVID. But I love racing that track. It's so difficult. Mentally, it's very scary. Turn 1 is mentally just a tough corner to go through.
Turn 1, Ken Schrader, Jeff Gordon. I mean, we've seen some big hits in Turn 1.
I had a big one there, Motor Blue going in.
We've seen some barrel rolls down the backstretch. I remember the Steve Park, Dale Jr. with Davey Allison, Darrell Waltrip, where Darrell broke his leg. In fact, Darrell still walks with a limp from breaking his leg.
And you haven't even talked about Tunnel Turn, which is one of the toughest turns in the sport. It's like a kink at Road America. It's just a fast, high-speed kink. So fun race to watch, good for the fans. Truck drivers are going to love having a week off after this to take a break.
Yeah, at least they won't have very far to go. Well, that does it for our show for this week. Definitely looking forward to Pocono. And like we said earlier, congrats to the folks at Amazon Prime. Did a great job. We'll be back next week. We'll break down Pocono, and we'll talk about our return trip for this year to Atlanta on Gone Racin'.